Welcome to the Seraphine podcast. I'm Seraphine, and this is Chelsea.
Hi.
We are back, and we are talking all things Halston. Oh my God, we are totally obsessed with this show.
Obsessed.
The first two episodes, they were fun, and that was Becoming Halston, episode 1, and number 2 was Versailles, where that really started to get us excited.
Yeah.
It was just all the beautiful fashion. It was really starting to dive deep more into the characters and less in this kind of skeletal structure of here's Halston and here's Elsa. And we're really starting to get to know them now. Mm-hmm. So the ones we're talking about today are The Sweet Smell of Success. That's episode 3. And episode 4, The Party is Over. Mm-hmm. We're going to just get down to the nitty gritty and the jock straps right off the bat. Oh my God. The jock strap reminds me of Death by Tampon in Ricky Gervais's Afterlife.
So the comedian is making a joke about someone
suicide.
Yeah. He's making a joke about someone that choked on a tampon and
I know
when I suicide. And he's just.
Now that I'm laughing, I feel really bad because I see your face.
Mine?
Yours is so serious, and I'm like, ha.
I think like
she's like, she literally said it like it was for real.
I did.
Seraphine choked on a tampon. I love you for that.
I did. Well, okay, I'm getting red now.
I know. I swear this scene. So let's just preface this. If you haven't quite seen it yet, stop and go back and watch our first 2 episodes. You've got to watch it. But Halston is told, he's trying to build this brand into this epic brand, and perfume is the next bastion he's going into. Mm-hmm. So he meets with Vera Farmiga, and she does this really amazing cameo as a kind of a perfumer who's trying to give him the note. So there's like the foundation of the perfume. There's like that top note, and there's like a mid note, and
then there's like the floor, the bottom.
Yes, that base floor, and she goes down memory lane.
She does, because the top is like the present moment. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what the middle is, but then the bottom is the past.
Yes.
And that, if you haven't seen the show, or if you don't know much about Halston has a lot of trauma from childhood. So for him, this was a really kind of therapeutic type thing, but it brought up a lot of trauma and memories and things like that. So she asks him to bring 3 things with a scent that he has like familiarity to. Yeah. So one of them is a jock strap from his lover.
Oh my God, which is insane. I mean, and the thing is they get you kind of going in a weird way, because the first one she talks about, he loves orchids, and traditionally orchids aren't really like in your face.
Yeah.
But he finds a dried orchid that smells incredible, and orchids are beautiful. I mean, if you've ever smelled the Halston perfume, it is so different. The second one, what was it? He had an orchid. He had the jock strap just overwhelmed me completely.
That's all I kind of remember as the jock strap.
I mean, it's insane. I think it was cigarettes. Cigarettes was the second one.
Yeah, which makes total sense.
Total sense, because all Ewan McGregor is doing in this, I mean, I was like, poor Ewan McGregor. I don't know. If he's a smoker in real life, but he smoked it well.
Yeah.
Because I got one, and it's like another character in the scene.
It is.
So Vera Farmiga takes the jock strap, she puts it over her face and just goes, I mean.
She really got in there.
She got in every bit.
Well, and they're like flashing to the scene where Victor Cruz.
Hugo.
Victor Hugo.
Yeah.
Victor Cruz is a football player. Victor is wearing the jockstrap, and they're like having a moment, and then flashing to her like sniffing them. It's just a very bizarre scene, but it
works.
Kind of was like, it did work.
Yeah.
And it kind of was like a turning point for Halston with Adele, who is Vera Farmiga. Yeah. He kind of respects her a little bit more, because
and she gets respect for him too.
She does. So their relationship kind of grew, and I think that's why the perfume became so successful, and the scent at least, because I guess it really worked for them. They kind of collabed well.
Sex, cigarettes, and orchids. That's what it's all about. Oh my God. And the other part of this was how he was so he was not going to let anyone make his bottle not traditional.
Right.
He talks to Elsa. She has this beautiful like pendant that looks like a teardrop, and then this stopper in it, which all the people at what is it? Norton. I always forget. Norton Simon are like, do you know how much it's going to cost to make this bottle? Because it's a weird shaped thing.
To go back, the way that the men from Norton Simon describe a perfume bottle was really more erotic than I ever imagined it would be. But I loved hearing about it. It is a very sensual thing. You dip the dropper in and then you pull it out and then you place it on your skin. It's a very sensual experience. So for them, this bottle was different because it was curved. It had a short, stumpy little dropper in it. So they were concerned that it wasn't going to give
the sex appeal.
Right.
I mean, it really does kind of, you do. I mean, when you think about it. And the funny thing is they really don't make perfumes anymore. Not that many that have the stopper.
Dropper, yeah.
Because, it is expensive to make.
Yeah.
And the perfume is it's harder to get out. Now we have all these sprays and mists and all of that.
Yes.
But boy, it just made me when they described it, running along your skin on your pressure points.
I loved it.
Oh, it just brought me to a elegant, heightened place.
I know. I need to get some more perfumes like that.
I know.
I just like the experience.
Or just get the bottle and dump the perfume in, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Beautiful setup on your dresser. So we've got this, and he basically puts it in their face. I'll put my own money into it. I'm not going to, he's just defying trying to be a sellout, hardcore.
Yeah.
He's even saying he's going to put his own 50 grand to get the bottle created.
Mm-hmm.
So, we go into the little introduction of Studio 54 because Victor Hugo is in his life now. He's basically taken this big step pushing Edward out by rearranging his window. He's very jealous.
He is.
He's
and
controlling.
I think he was the catalyst for Halston getting so deep into drugs and losing focus on, because Victor got very jealous when he wasn't getting the attention. He threw a couple hissy fits throughout the episode and stuff when he wasn't getting the proper attention. So I think that Victor was a huge part in the demise of Halston.
100%. He was like your toxic relationship, and Halston was addicted to it.
Yeah, he was in love with him.
He really was, which is such a shame because Edward was really trying to say hey man, what are you doing? And this guy is this, and again it gets complicated. I think with business, pleasure, all of it. This was a really excessive time, and Studio 54 is coming in full effect, and which
fascinates me. Studio 54.
I mean,
I had no idea.
An orgy with alcohol and really amazing couture, and everyone from actors to artists to politicians, everybody came to Studio 54 at this time. We just start to see him starting to get the twinge, he wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But you also see this kind of tug of war of him really immersing himself in a relationship because he's kind of in love with Liza Minnelli, but not sexually.
Right. Well, they have a very beautiful friendship, but what was weird, and I don't remember if this is episode 3 or 4, but Elsa is in love with Halston, and she actually which I could tell, they kiss, and everything, but that's your gay friend. But then you come to find out she actually does love him. She brought it up to him, and he was like, darling, I don't do that or something. And she said, well, I at least had to ask.
Yes. And I love that they really showed that, because I do think when you feel a closeness, I had a very close friend of mine in college who was gay, and I always kind of had a crush on him, and it was always this strange feeling of I didn't ever want to tell him my feelings because I knew it never happened.
Yeah.
But then in the next breath, there's this beautiful dance and trust because there's no sex in the relationship.
Right.
So anyway, you see Liza get married, and Liza actually marries. This is a crazy fact. She marries Jack Haley Jr. That was the son of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz.
Such a weird coincidence.
And very in the frame of this Wizard of Oz, greater, larger than life story, and then really pulling the curtains back and seeing that, everyone's just like a human being. But she does wear an epic yellow pantsuit.
Like the yellow brick road.
Oh, I know,
so
right?
Crazy.
So cool.
I love it. Halston obviously designed it.
Yes. So freaking cool. So then we pretty much end on this episode with him and in Studio 54, Bianca Jagger and Mick Jagger having the time of their life. It's the famous photograph of Bianca riding in on a horse at the club and Mick Jagger being like, wiggling his hips and telling his lady she's amazing. So we go into the next episode and we are literally seeing Sassy, who is Halston's assistant, and she's like a little mini drug dealer.
She is.
Actually not mini. They are going through
a big deal.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks of coke.
Yeah, in one day.
In one day. That's insane.
I know. Poor girl. You could tell she was not in. She didn't want to do this, but she didn't have a choice.
It was insane. And then we've got, Studio 54. He's really immersed in it now.
Yeah.
He's really in the drug scene. Calvin Klein is coming out as more of a competitor.
Yeah.
We've got the Brooke Shields commercial of nothing gets in between me and my Calvins.
Yeah.
You're feeling all of this, like, what I think, like, when people describe being on coke, it's this, like, aggressiveness, like, he wants to, like, be larger than life, and then he's got these competitors.
Yeah. Well, when Halston started, he was the only one doing these, like, very elegant, simple, minimalistic designs. Everyone else was doing the over the top 80s 70s 80s type style. So when Calvin Klein came on the scene and he started having that very simplistic minimalist type
aesthetic,
it was no one else was doing it when Halston was doing it. So when someone else came on and they were kind of imitating what he was doing, obviously you get a little territorial.
Oh, totally. It's
especially
like,
Halston. He's a drama queen.
Oh, he's such a drama queen, and nobody likes in the beginning to be copied. I think in the very beginning we all feel like we're very new and exciting, and then it's, I guess, imitation's the biggest form of flattery, but he doesn't catch on until a little bit later. So David from Norton Simon says, his sales are kind of going down.
Yeah,
like, because he's done too many things.
They're kind of like plateauing.
Yeah. And he's doing too many things. He's doing luggage. He's doing wigs.
Yeah.
He's doing carpets. I mean, no one wants, I don't know. I don't really want a Halston wig.
Right. You got to stay with like what the experience that he started with dressing a woman head to toe and like these designer duds is kind of getting washed down a little bit by overextending himself to all these different realms just for money in the corporate world. Once corporate got involved, everything changed.
Everything changed, totally. And he doesn't know where to pivot, because then he digs his heels in when they mention jeans,
which is weird.
Which is so stupid. I'm like, you're gonna make a wig and luggage, but you're gonna dig your heels in with jeans.
Yeah, I think that was being stubborn because Calvin Klein did it, and he was like,
yeah. He's like, nope, not going to do dungarees.
Yeah.
So then we've got, this big, we've got David going through the books, and he's realizing, like, oh my God, you're spending it on orchids, you're spending it on coke, and you're spending it on flying your food in, wherever you're at. He's literally eating like lobster and steak every single day.
Yeah.
It's insane. The Halston fragrance is really the only thing that's keeping him afloat. But then he does, I think, the worst thing he can do is he starts to feel all this pressure, and then he starts to push away Joe, who is one of his head designers, and then Elsa. And that's like starting.
It was a really horrible scene to watch with him and Elsa.
Oh.
Just the demise of such a lengthy friendship. She was there with him from the beginning. So, there was just a lot of jealousy there.
And in such a strange, like, they're on vacation, you're like thinking you're going to have this great time. They're in Montauk having the time of their life. And then he just attacks her.
Yeah.
And you've had those moments. I think we all have with someone we've loved, and they're just having an off time in their life. And they decide to make you like the whipping person. Like, I'm just going to take it all out. And she is done. Then he goes next with Joe, because Joe is really seeing that he's making bad decisions, because yet again, David from Norton Simon is like, hey, let's start to figure out where we're going to go with this. And I think what really tips him is his mother dying.
Yes.
And then he freaks out. Like, he completely freaks out because he pushed away Elsa, and then he's only got Joe, and Joe's like, hey, dude, like, you can't keep doing this. You're falling apart. And by the way, we found a ton of Coke in your phone. That was insane.
Yeah, it was.
He's literally on the phone talking, and then he's got one of those steel like Coke scoopers sticking it up his nose, and it dumps into the old phone, like the perforated holes in the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit's crazy.
Yeah, that's when you know you have a big problem.
I mean, so then he blows up at Joe and pushes Joe out completely too. Yeah. And that one was pretty devastating as well, because Joe's been with him forever. So then, you know, we go finally to this turning point where he has to sign this contract. And his biggest mistake is...
Yeah, well, they present this as being like $1 billion deal. So Halston sees money signs, and because he is so involved in drugs, he's not thinking clearly. He's not reading the fine lines in contracts. He's just being very sloppy. He's letting things go. So this was kind of the perfect storm where he signs this contract and essentially signs his name away forever.
Yeah.
His namesake, like that is what he's built his whole reputation and design fashion house on. So for him to lose that forever, and it's in there's actually, we'll talk about this another time, but I've seen this happen with other designers recently, where they've lost their names. And I can't even imagine, like, you can't ever design or say someone was wearing your design again.
Yeah. It's so sad. And then on top of it, you know, he becomes this kind of in-house designer for JCPenney.
Yeah.
And this is the very thing that, you know, he's basically said, like, he's becoming the consumer-driven designer that he swore he hated.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's pretty sad, because at the end of the day, then he wants to do the jeans, and they're like, it's a saturated market. Like, what are you doing?
He was 6 months too late.
6 months. I mean, 6 months, he missed it because he's too focused on his wigs and his, sorry, I still can't get over that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you just really see what drugs and greed and pushing good people away from you.
Yeah.
And he's really getting involved with like this seedy sex life.
Yeah.
And he's just not himself. So it ends on a really like traumatic note, because you're like, what the hell is going to happen?
Yeah.
But I have to say, Ewan McGregor killing it.
So good.
He's amazing.
He was perfect.
He's amazing. And I have to say, Vera, even though her small role in it, it just was such a beautiful play with each other. Really good, strong scenes in it. Well, we're going to talk more on our final episode. It's called Critics. And we are going to be talking also about what other documentaries are out there, if you've loved this as much as me and Chelsea have, and talk a little bit about Halston's inspiration on other designers, and talk about what we've found just in the last week or so, what we're finding now. We're like, what? He really is everywhere.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Seraphine podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like, subscribe, all the fun little buttons and bells, and let us know what you think of it, because me and Chelsea are loving it.
Love it.
All right. Thanks a lot. See you later.